Alrighty, fellow Jones enthusiasts. A lot of talk on the page right now about long wheelbases, HTEs, version 3s, version 2s. So I figured I'd do this video. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I've been riding this beast for I think about 2 years. Been working on it most days. Work downtown Austin, delivering stuff. A lot of hours in the saddle, so got a lot of stick time with it, and figured it'd be good to just kind of go over everything, maybe go over my setup, talk about what I like. It's not really anything I don't like, so maybe give you some ideas on what to get if you're thinking about getting one, setting it up as an e-bike. So a lot questions about the rack. That's, of course, a Surly 24-pack rack. Got it secured with the mounts in the middle, in the front, and I modified the Surly hardware in a shop vise so it would fit the crown. Pretty simple, 90-degree angle, nothing much to do there, and it clears it really nice, as you can see. I thought about putting some plastic there just so that my bag wouldn't get dirty, but I'm lazy and I haven't done it. Got my Lysine or Lysine or whatever floor pump, mini floor pump there. A lot of people think it's a shock for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. Of course, I'm running the V-Tire Speedsters. Love these. Try and get my hands on them whenever I can. They are really good on dry pavement, and that's about it, I think. Honestly, I wouldn't really run them on anything else other than pavement and light gravel. But that's tires for you. I have it in the highest gear here for all you chain rub enthusiasts. As you can see, well, I don't know if I can get it clear. It ain't rubbing on the 2.8s in the highest gear, which is fine. And on an e-bike, you're never really in that low gear anyway, because you don't really need it with the 12 speed. I am shifting so much on a 12 speed with the motor, it's ridiculous. You never want to start out too low of a gear, and when I say low, it's a high speed, so there's that whole debate. But you usually want to start off up around here at a stop, and then ride in these lower gears right here, so you're constantly shifting in the city. Of course, a stock derailleur, just try and keep it clean. I'm not going to clean it for this video because I'm in between shifts, but I haven't really done anything to the derailleur, and it's been shifting great. Haven't done anything but cleaned it. Haven't even lubed it really, but should. Got a couple paint chips from when I first bought it and installed it, but that's my bad, so it's mine. I did install this kit myself. I bought it from Lunacycle and had it on a different bike. That is a Luna Direwolf battery with a magnetic mounting that I modified to fit the rail better. So it's got a mounting plate on the battery that magnetically mounts to another mount that you bolt to the frame. And then, of course, I bought some Velcro straps in case you get in a wreck. It's not going to go flying off, which I did wreck a couple months back, and it did not go flying off. It just held secure. It did come off the mount, but it did not come off the Velcro, which was great. And besides a little bent crank arm and twisted handlebars, I was okay, and the bike was okay. The only thing that did get damaged was the front end fork tire. Eventually ballooned out a little bit, had a weak spot and broke out. And you probably can't tell in the video, but the tire is a little offset of the fork. You probably can tell. It's hard to tell with the rack in the way, but you can kind of tell that the tire itself and the axle is offset of the fork. Of course, they're out of forks on the website, so I can't get a new one. But I got insurance money for a new one, so that's good. Stock headset, been working great. Just clean it out every once in a while because it gets dirty. Of course, let's see. Let's start with the cockpit, I guess. Of course, if you're going to run it as an e-bike, I would definitely suggest these cutoffs, the brake lever cutoffs. It's going to have this extra motor control right here. So when you accentuate, you know, the lever here, it sends a signal to cut off the motor. And it starts right about there. And of course on the display it tells you when it cuts off. So I can probably demonstrate that right now. And yeah, it's all wiggly. But anyway, it comes up with an error message saying that the motor's cut off. But that's a really important thing to have, especially if you want to use it as a clutch. But in great situations when you want to cut the motor for coasting or maneuverability, it's great to have those cutoffs as a safety precaution. I did trim the cables a little bit to keep them out of the way of the rack because they come with a ridiculous amount of cable, you know, so you can do just that. I did try and you know, get these together and kind of tape them up as best as possible. Keep it clean. I got my Outland headlamp mount there, and a little daytime blinker for whenever. Got my fucking bell and shit. But yeah, I got these Hayes rotors from a shop that just had them sitting there. They're actually downhill rotors, so they're pretty thick. 203s front and back. Really great to have a thicker rotor on this bike, and I think bigger rotors are the way to go rather than necessarily hydraulics, because as you can see, I got the original BB7s, and this thing will stop like an MFer, and this thing stops on a dime. And I think it's partly because I got this extra long lever for great modulation, great stopping power, but also these dump truck, you know, brake rotors that are super thick, super big, and it just stops really good. I'm really satisfied with the way it stops. As you can see, more cable management down here. Got everything wrapped up. And as far as installing the motor, you know, you got your cover ring, your lock ring underneath that. I would really, if you're gonna do this yourself, I'd really recommend buying the super heavy duty, you know, 4-point socket that they sell for this. It's like 40 bucks. Get that in case you ever want to take it off and mess with it. But I cinched this thing down with like a 1.5 foot breaker bar, and it doesn't move, you know, it doesn't move, and it's been fine. I haven't heard any noise. I run a silent machine, and this thing is quiet AF when I run it. The only thing you really got to do is maintain the chain. You got to maintain the chain, clean it, lube it, keep it wet. That's what the man himself says, you know, chains like to be clean and wet. So that's what you got to do. Little mud guard, just to kind of keep stuff from the connectors, and of course top tube protector in case I got to lean it against something. You know, a few scrapes, unintended stuff. It did fall over once, and it did crash onto the non-drive side when I wrecked against a car. But it hit the pedal mostly. You can tell it hit the end of the handlebar a little bit, But besides that, this thing is built like a tank, and it will withstand a lot of stuff. And because of the geometry, you know, you're probably not going to get hurt. I've recently thrown this Thomson C-post on there, just because I had it from something else. And this saddle I just got, the 601 Sqlab, without the active suspension on there. I kind of dig it. It's okay. This is like the second ride I've done on it, and it's quite comfortable. They say it's their entry-level thing, but it works fine for me. I mean, I do like having the active thing that they have, because it is like riding on a cloud, but it doesn't work well with the Thomson post because you can't get the rails angled right. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but the angles of the rails isn't right, and you can't get the nose far down enough. Back to the cockpit, of course. I do like the Jones bag, but the Surly bag just works better for my needs. Got the charging brick in there, feed bag for a little bit of stuff, or whatever you need. And of course, the Quadlock moto mount for quick stuff. I really like this EggRider display over here. I can't video it because I don't know if it doesn't really show up right, or maybe it does, I don't know. But it's got really quick, you know, adjustments, and I usually keep it at like 3 or 4, maybe 5 if I need to go up a hill easier, and I need a little extra boost. But I really ride this thing for more range than I do power. And the battery I get out of it is pretty insane. Off a full charge, I can literally go all day long at, like, you know, at a level 4 assist and still have like 30%, 35, 40% battery life left. So it's pretty insane. Obviously get the kickstand, you know, because it's invaluable and it doesn't really get in the way at all. As long as you don't go off any curbs weird. I mean, you can go off curbs, but you know, just don't drag it over stuff and the feet won't come off. One thing I find indispensable, that you should really do that. I don't know if Jones's comes with it or not, but it really should, is this speed sensor. Not the speed sensor, that's a speed sensor right there. But the shift sensor is something that you put in line with the shift cable right here. I got it taped up to kind of save it from getting any damage, but it basically it senses when you shift and cuts the motor for you know, however long it takes to shift. And it's not perfect, but it's dang near perfect. So it takes the load off the drivetrain like it needs when you shift, and so it ends up you know, clearing the shift and doing a clean shift instead of grinding it. And you can get away with without it if you want to use the brake cutoff as a sort of clutch, like a motorcycle has a clutch to cut the motor, shift, and then let go of the brake, and you know, let it go back to cruising. But it's a really easy install. It's you know, hard to mess up, but I find that to be like a really, it just kind of ties the whole experience together as far as keeping it feeling natural, you know, so where you don't really have to think about it too much. And yeah, found a kind of a natural spot to keep my U-lock. It just kind of stays out of the way because I don't really have to stand up and ride out of the saddle or anything, so it kind of stays there. Mudguard in the back doesn't really do much, but it stops me from having to clean that little pesky triangle area, which is kind of nice. Yeah, this is my second bash guard. because I think I over-tightened the bolts on the first one and it started cracking around. So I had to order another one of those. I think this is like my third or fourth chain. You got to be careful and start out in the higher gears, like I said, because it doesn't like, motors don't like having to start out in like a high torque situation. But as long as you are easy on it like that and shift a lot in a 12-speed situation, then you'll have a lot of life out of this drivetrain, I think. It's funny because I called Jeff up once to ask him about chains and chain braking and what kind of chain I should use and stuff. And I mean, this is just, I think this might be a KMC, but I'm just buying the SRAM stuff from now on because that's what they use. But we were talking and I was like, hey, have you ever used like the Box 9 stuff? Because in my opinion, 12-speed is just way too much for an e-bike. Any e-bike, really. I mean, the most you really need in an e-bike situation is maybe 5, 8 tops gears. And having 12 is just, it's too much. And it creates, the chain line issues and tire rub issues. And when you have a smaller gears to choose from, less gears to choose from, you have a thicker chain and stronger chain, stronger drive chain. And we were talking, I was asking him, have you ever tried a Box 9 or Box 8 or something like that? And I don't think he had at that point. It was before the version 3s came out, and sure enough, guess what, the version 3s have, hey, Box 9. So he must have been thinking about that. Serendipity, I guess. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we've covered everything. But yeah, so I bought that motor kit and everything and put it on myself. So I do have some install experience if anybody has questions about that. But it's been great. I've really been out in the rain, like not a lot with this because I just don't like riding in the rain. I don't know how many people do like riding in the rain, but I've been caught in the rain, and I've thought, that things would be effed after that, but especially having the connectors up here exposed like that, I need to talk to my 3D printing buddy and get a cover for that. But it's really been, fantastic. Like all these connectors up here have stayed connecting and working. The only thing, this EggRider display, it has a little bit of a crack here, and I think that's just from like dry rot in the plastic. It's not from over tightening or crashing or anything. It's just old. But it's been a hell of a display, and if it ever breaks where I can't use it, I'm gonna buy another one because those are absolutely fantastic. They're tiny, they're useful, they're out of the way. It's not some giant thing on your handlebars that screams, I'm an e-bike, steal me. Of course, I mean the battery does, but I've had so many people be like, "Oh, is that where you carry your water?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly where I carry my water. You're right. How did you know that?" Spare tube in the back here, because I do run this tube. I used to run the front tubeless, but since that crash, the tape has been messed up a little bit, and I've just been a little too lazy to switch it out. And I run really high pressure in the back here, really high pressure, because I'm a big guy and I need high pressure in the back, otherwise I will squizzle around. So a tube is just the way to go. I've found I used to run tubeless, and I just don't see the point with such high volume tires and high pressure. I just rather go tube, and I've been lucky enough to actually wear out the tube before I ever got a flat, and that took like a couple months of like heavy, well, no pun intended, heavy use. So yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything that I can think about covering. There's no point in getting a twist throttle. Please don't get a twist throttle. Just use the thumb throttle. It's fine. I like to feather it on a startup, you know, in a low gear, feather it on a startup to get up to speed. I do like the pedal action, the pedal assist. I do like the way that feels on a mid-drive kit rather than the torque assist, the kind of system. It just feels good, you know. It just feels like you're adding to it instead of it feeding back on you and stuff. But anyway, I think I'm rambling at this point. The one thing I would suggest, if you want to try it, I kind of don't like this whole single shifter thing, like one click down, one click up, because when you have that shift sensor, it's going to sense the shift, right? So if I want to dump 3 gears, or if I want to downshift 3 gears or 2 gears, why can't I do that? And it'll still sense the same amount of shifts and cut off for the same right amount of time. But the whole concept of like one shift is going to help save the drivetrain is kind of it's a moot point when it comes to a shift sensor, in my opinion, because what's the whole point? I mean, you're just shifting, you're wearing out your thumb for no reason. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong, because that's kind of the one thing I would change. Is I actually have, and I might catch hell for this, but I actually have a grip shifter, a SRAM grip shifter on my regular version 2 long wheelbase, and I love it. I like it a lot. You know, a little flick of the wrist, and I'm like 4 gears up, 4 gears down. It's amazing. You know, I don't have to, you know, chick, 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 chick. I just go, click, click. It's great. And I don't see why that wouldn't work on a bike like this, you know? It senses the same amount of shifts, and it cuts the motor off. And I don't know. I think something like that would be awesome. But, I mean, I also think something like the SRAM transmission would be great on this too. Stronger chain. I don't know. One upgrade I would do, I would definitely, if I had the money, I would definitely get like either the transmission drivetrain or like a Box Prime 9 or whatever e-bike transmission that Box makes, because it has less gears. Anyway, this video is like almost 25 minutes long, and if you are listening this long, then you are really into Jones e-bikes, and I commend you. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut up. Shout out to Answer pedals. These pedals are the shit. I've had them for like 12 years, and they are awesome. Still spin like that. Have a great day.